Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Olivia. How are you doing today? And hope you're staying safe. If you're new to this channel, please kindly hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and also share with your friends and family. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be making this beautiful baby girl dress. It's actually for 3 to 4 years baby girl. So sit right there and don't go anywhere. So here are the materials we're going to be working with. This right here is the main fabric. It's a bayonet, and this is a satin fabric. It's actually of high quality. This right here is the hard net to make it stand, and this is my lining. It is also a satin fabric. As you can see, I joined two pieces together to get this because I ran out of lining. So if you have your cotton lining, please go ahead and use that. So here is a basic bodice pattern I drafted in my last tutorial. If you want to know how I drafted this pattern, I'll drop the link in the description box down below so you go and check it out. So the first thing we're going to do is to cut out our basic bodice. My satin is folded into two, and we're going to be placing the pattern onto the satin fabric. You might need to pin this down so you don't make any mistakes while cutting. Okay, so now we've cut that out. As you can see, the front and the back bodice. I also use the pattern to cut out the main fabric, which is our bayonet. And then you're going to be splitting the back open because we're going to be inserting a zip right there. So now what we're going to do is also to split the back of the satin open. And then we're going to join them together. So you join the two shoulders of the satin separately and also join the two shoulders of the main fabric separately. Note, in joining the satin, you're going to be using the right side as the wrong side and the wrong side as the right side, please. I hope you understand that. You join the main fabric, right sides facing each other. Join only the shoulders. I'll do that and then I'll come back and show us. So now we'll finish joining the shoulders. We're going to be placing the satin and the main fabric right side facing each other, and you're going to sew all the way around. Sew the neckline, the armhole, the side seams. Okay, we'll finish sewing that, and this is what we have right here. Remember, the wrong side of the satin was used as the right side. So now when you finish joining it, if you turn it inside out, you're going to see the effect. So now we're going to notch, trim off all the pointed edges and notch the neckline. Then we're going to be turning inside out. When turning, you're going to use one side of the back to pass through the shoulder onto the front, and then the other side of the back pass through the shoulder onto the front. Hope you can see that. You're just going to turn it. I think I'll do this off camera and then I'll come back and show us. So here it is. I've finished turning it and I've given it a good press. Hope you can see how neat it's looking already. Hope you can see the effect I talked about on the shoulder area. Hope you can see that. So the next thing we're going to do is to join the zip allowance. After joining the zip allowance, you're going to join the sides using your measurements. Join the two sides using your measurements. Join the zip allowance first before shaping the sides. Okay. So now finish joining the sides and the zip allowance. Hope you can see that I have my basic bodice right now. So the next thing to do is to open up the zip allowance. So after opening it up, This is what we have, and we're going to set that aside and continue. So what we want to do now is to work on the downside. I have my satin and my main fabric. Remember, the half length we used for the bodice is 10 inches. The full length of the dress is 31 inches. So here my satin is 20 inches in length, as you can see, while the main material is 2 inches longer than the satin. You can make yours 1 inch if you like. How I got the down length is that I minused the half length from the full length and then added 1 inch for sewing allowance. And for the width, it all totally depends on how full you want it to be. As for me, I used 4 times the waist measurement. As you can see, the main fabric already has a factory finishing, so I'm not going to be hemming the down part. And you can see the main fabric is 2 inches longer than the satin fabric, okay? The satin and the main fabric is just the same width, and then we're going to cut that out and proceed. Now we're going to cut a half circle satin, which we are going to be placing our hard net on. So the first thing is to fold the satin into 2 and then fold into 4 in a triangular form. Our waist measurement is 21.5. I'll add 1 inch for sewing allowance, that is 22.5, and we're going to divide that by 3.14. So when we divide that, we have 7.1, and I'm going to mark it all the way around 7 inches, so you mark it all around. For the length of my half circle, I'm going to be making use of 12 inches because I want my hard net to start from the hem, and my hard net is going to be 5 inches, so that will give me 17 inches. And after sewing, I'm going to have 16 inches, which is very okay because you don't need the length of the net to get the length of the main fabric. Then I'm going to cut this out, okay? So from the waist area, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, sorry. You're going to mark 1 inch all around. And then remove half inch on the hem for joining the first step of hard net. Then divide the remaining space into 2. This gives us a total of 3 steps for our net. Please, these measurements are not constant. In fact, if I had enough net, I would have made it up to 6 steps, which would give me a fuller effect. So if you want yours to be really full and very bolly, please make it up to 5 or 6 steps. Then make every step of the net to be longer than the first. So the distance from my 1 inch on the waist to the hem is 11. If I divide that by 2, I have 5.5 inches. And that is what I marked all around the midpoint of the satin. This is going to make it easier for me to know where to sew my net. So we have cut out our half circle, as you can see, and I've marked all the lines around the circle. So now we're going to mark out 1 inch on both edges. This 1 inch is for our zip allowance. You need that side to be flat so you can easily sew your zipper on it. So you mark that on both edges. So now I've cut out my net, my hard net. Please make sure you get the original net, okay? Get the one that is very hard so that when you sew it can stand. If it's not hard enough, it's not going to stand, okay? And then we're going to be sewing them step by step like this. So this right here is going to be on the first line around the waistline where we marked our 1 inch. And then by the time you finish sewing, you're going to see how it's going to be. And this here is for the second line, The first and the second lines are measuring 7 inches, and then this last one, which is the hemming line, this one is measuring 5 inches. And so make sure when you're sewing, you start sewing from the down side, because if you start from the up, it's going to be really hard for you to sew the next line. I'll do that off camera and then come back and show you. I've finished sewing and this is what we have. I don't have enough nets. I would have pleated it to be fuller than this, but this is also okay for what I actually wanted to achieve. I don't really want it to be bally. Yeah, so if you want it full, please add enough nets. So you can see how the inside is looking. So here is our main fabric and our satin. I've already gathered them together, as you can see. Hope you can see the full effect. Then I'm going to place the net directly facing the inside or back of my satin and main fabric, like so, as you can see, and we're going to sew them together, starting from one end to the other end. I'll do that and come back and show us. I've joined them together and this is what we have. Hope you can see how full it's looking already. Trying to adjust the camera for you to see. So hope you can see that it's already looking full. So imagine you added more nets. It's going to be really bally. Hope you can see how neat it's looking. Very neat. So now we're going to be joining the basic bodice to the down part. So you're going to notch the midpoint of the down part and also notch the midpoint of the upper bodice, then join them together. I've finished joining it and this is it. So neat and beautiful. Hope you can see how neat it's looking already. So now it's time to join our lining. We're going to join our lining. Remember I told you I'm using a satin fabric as my lining. Hope you can see that. And then hope you can see how I joined it. It's going to be like this after sewing. So what you do, you turn it over for the right side of your lining to face the upper bodice, okay? And then you're going to join it from one end to the other end, okay? So that when you turn it over, it relaxes well and it makes your work so neat and beautiful, like mine. So this is how you're going to sew, making sure you don't go too deep in the sewing so as not to sew the front side, okay? So you just sew carefully. If you cannot control your speed or if you cannot control the lines, please sew at the tip of the seam allowance, and then you're going to be pleating them. When cutting your lining, cut your lining to be ×2 of your waist, so that when you pleat, there will be room for the child to walk freely. I've finished joining the lining and this is what we have. As you can see, the lining fabric is shorter than the main fabric and at the same time covering the net. So now I'm going to insert my zipper and close up the down part and our dress is ready. So check out my channel for the part B of this project where I'll be attaching the sleeve and the bow. Bye!